really in for a treat. Our very own, Elizabeth Miller, who sits on our leadership team, who is the founder and owner of Happy Healthy Caregiver. She's going to really talk with you this evening about knowing those limits as a caregiver, as you balance those caregiving responsibilities. So without further ado, please welcome Elizabeth Miller.
What's happening to me? Let's see if I can figure this out here.
Yeah, forward now.
Maybe it has to do with the mouse not being on here. Let me do this.
That's my fault. It's always my fault.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, right there's good. Thank you. So some of you in this room might have a date, right? A date when you became a caregiver. Something happened overnight, sadly, and everything, the world turned upside down. I don't have that date. I have kind of don't know when I started becoming a caregiver. I have an older brother who was born with an intellectual and developmental disability that's 8 years older than me. So I've always kind of seen caregiving happening and been a support caregiver for him. But I will tell you, I know the year that things really flipped upside down for my family. And that was 2014. We call that our spiral year, my husband and I. So we were working full time, supposedly in our peak earning years in our early 40s. We had 2 kids in middle school. They were in travel sports. They were booked with activities. And we had aging parents whose health had been declining all of my adult life for my parents. One thing after another, I affectionately called them a cocktail of different things. Rattle a few of them off: COPD, sleep apnea, depression, morbid obesity, mobility, edema, heart disease, diabetes, so many different things. And on the flip side, my husband was also caring for his mom who had lung cancer. So we were what you call squeezed in the sandwich generation. Anybody feeling the squeeze right now? Yeah, feeling the squeeze of caring for aging parents, caring for kids at the same time. You might even be in a club sandwich if you've got the grandparents also happening in there. We were never going to be bored, and we would look at each other and be like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? There's no roadmap, and we're just kind of figuring it out on the job. Relatable, probably. So here's some of the people we care for. My mom. So let me back up. In 2014, my parents lived in their dream home in Amelia Island, Florida, but they hadn't touched the sand in probably the last 10 years of their lives. So first it was lots of calls back and forth. So I got a taste of what that long distance or remote caregiving that we spoke about a couple months ago, what that was like. And then the worst case scenario happened. We thought, oh, and this is facts. This is what adult children talk about. What do you think is going to happen with my siblings? I'm one of 6 kids. Who do you think is going to go first? What do you think is going to happen? Kind of thinking it out. And we always thought my mom would pass away first. She was less healthy. But what you see sometimes in older adult couples is that the stronger one, the healthier one, has the rapid decline the fastest because they're doing it. They're caring for their person as well. And he was caring, in my case, for my mom and my brother who lived with them at the time. So worst case scenario is my dad passed away very rapidly. Within a month's time, was intubated 3 times, put in hospice the last week, passed away, and like, oh shit, what are we gonna do now? And those weeks are kind of a blur of what happened there, but we had to move my mom, move my brother, figure out where all their paperwork was, these things people were talking about earlier. And so we felt like what some of you would feel like, and I'm speaking for myself, felt lost, felt overwhelmed, but isolated. Very slippery slope though, like it didn't happen overnight that I felt like I was burned out and not recognizing who I was in the mirror. But just trying to keep all the pieces moving, sometimes feeling like you're living on a treadmill or a hamster wheel, but it might slow down, but it never really quite stops. That relate to anybody? Yeah. So the current situation is that my mom had 6 bonus years after my dad. She passed away in 2020. In fact, her 5-year death anniversary is coming up very shortly. And she had those bonus years because, you know, we cared for her amazingly, I think, like to say. First, I was her primary caregiver. She lived close by in an assisted living community. We moved my brother in with another brother initially, and we have kind of moved him around a little bit. He's now back in the Atlanta area. So 6 bonus years with my mom. Meanwhile, in 2014, we lost my dad back in 2014, and we also lost my mother-in-law. So my husband and I lost 2 parents that year. I love the sandwich generation graphic because that's what it felt like for sure. And I definitely related to that. I didn't even call myself a caregiver initially. Current situation is that because my folks are deceased, we now are in a caregiving situation with my brother. So he was born with intellectual developmental disability and is on the autism spectrum. I'm his primary caregiver. He doesn't live with me. He lives with my other brother in Alpharetta, but I'm his person who does all this stuff. All this stuff. We have an eye appointment tomorrow. We have lots of appointments. Woo. So, sharing all that because I want you all to know that I'm more than a care advocate. I am a certified caregiving consultant, a certified senior advisor, but I'm a caregiver, and I'm still a caregiver. So tonight we're going to talk about guilt, caregiver guilt. We're also going to talk about how you can make caregiving sustainable in your life, because we have to talk about that first, because you can't even think about the self-care part until you can figure out how to make more white space in your life. So we're going to talk about those strategies. And I'm still practicing all of these strategies and learning them all again. So question for you all, a little interaction here, is, you know, we don't sit and reflect about our caregiving life very often. And hopefully you can read this, but there's 4 steps here. The first one is ideal, and I'd love to know where you all think you are after we go through these. So the first one is you're idealist, you're optimistic. You come into caregiving, you might have a little bit of rose-colored glasses going on, you're high energy, you're committed, you're eager to help. You're gonna figure it out. Anyone already know if they're there? Are we past there? Probably came there because you're kind of fast. Yeah. Okay, the next one is your irritability, stress onset. You start to feel tired, sleep may beginning to suffer, your daily challenges are growing, but somehow you're kind of just putting one step in front of the other. Anybody feel like they're there? Okay. All right, next one is chronic exhaustion. So this is, and even though this is a stair step, the yellow one, maybe that's why I'm wearing yellow tonight. The yellow one is the good news. Okay, we're kind of turn the corner there, but the chronic exhaustion phase is withdrawal. You stop seeking support. You become detached. You kind of feel like you're in a zombie phase a little bit. And your physical and mental health, you're starting to notice has really declined for you. Anybody want to admit that that's where they are right now? Okay, you're in the right spot. And then the last one I have here is because you're going to turn the corner. And that's how I felt like with the stages that I had gone through, is you kind of get to this point where you're like, well, this isn't working. This isn't working very well. And so and the definition of insanity, right, is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. So I hit that and I'm like, this sucks. Something needs to change. And this is where the renewal, the healing, the recovery happens. And this is healing with setting boundaries, getting the support you need, and becoming an empowered and a resilient caregiver. Anybody want that? Yes, we want that. I think I just talked too much and this thing falls asleep. I'm gonna just do this. Whoops, nope. Okay, it's okay. Caregiver go. So there's nothing I can say tonight that's gonna not make y'all feel guilty. So if you were hoping that was gonna happen, that's not gonna happen. And the reason why you're gonna feel guilty is because you want these things to be true. You want all of the things that you're happening to you wanna be able to help all these people. You wanna be the person who can do all of these things at the same time. I used to kind of imagine this cape and I'd like put this cape on, and some days it was a little tattered more than others, and I'd get out that dirty tattered cape and try to put it on the next day. But guilt is very normal. as a caregiver and we are constantly feeling like we're not doing enough, we should on ourselves. We should all over ourselves, and we allow other people to should on us as well. I hate that word so much that when I write my posts and the different things I put out there, you won't find that word in my stuff. Because we don't need to be shooting on ourselves. And taking time for ourselves just feels like we're gonna feel so guilty about it, right? Any of y'all feeling guilty at the moment? What do you feel guilty for? What are some of the reasons that you're feeling guilty? Feel free to shout them out.
I feel like I'm not keeping up with all of the appointments and the follow-up and, you know, the.
Like you're not doing as much as you think you should be, or
Yes.
organized, or
I think part of it is, I've got 4 right now, and so some I'm doing better than others. And so
Yeah.
anyway, I've got guilt with some and not others.
yeah, that's.
Rocking it with some.
Oh, the guilt news. There's a reason why this picture is the chair. So the chair with the makeshift stool. That's what it constantly feels like as a caregiver, is that one of your legs is off kilter. Maybe it's your home stuff. Maybe it's your caregiving stuff. Maybe it's your work life. Maybe it's certain relationships. Maybe you feel like you're neglecting your kids because you've had to put so much attention on other people. So you're always kind of living in this rocking chair, rocking back and forth. And anybody else want to throw out what they're feeling guilty for? Thank you for sharing.
I have one, I feel like I'm paying more attention to one parent versus the other, but both of them, I guess, but I'm fortunate enough, I have a home health caregiver who's helping with one. So I feel like, okay, great, now I
Yeah.
can help with the other, but I really do need to. I really should still be paying.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are both caring for multiple people. It's almost a possible situation. You talk to Stephanie, who works for an assisted living community. They have whole staffs of people that do all of the things that you all are doing. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So for me, I felt guilty. You know, sometimes I feel guilty because my brother's sitting home alone. He's sitting on a computer all day. He's on Facebook. I just got another message from my sister this week that he got taken advantage of again and gave about another gift card for another beautiful blonde woman on Facebook. So, oh my gosh, we didn't look at the Facebook messages this week or last week, or oh my gosh, he's sitting in the thing. I need to get him in more programs, blah, 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 blah. Felt guilty for mom lived in assisted living. It was not her dream home. She didn't have friends. They weren't bringing her, you know, she couldn't get her down to the hot meal. She couldn't sit with the people that she wanted to sit with. All this stuff. Wasn't going to visit her enough. Had to leave too early when I did go visit her. Was never enough, right? Missed kids' birthdays, missed holidays. Remember one time I had a complete meltdown with my girlfriends, and my son wanted cake pops. Remember when cake pops were the rage? He wanted cake pops for his birthday, wanted me to bring it to the class. I was like, I can't buy those and cake pops. And my neighbor made them and brought them. Had to cancel a work trip, had to leave a couple work trips, meetings, all of that stuff. Any of this stuff happened to you all? Yeah, we feel guilty. We feel guilty because we're torn between all these competing priorities. We feel guilty because we lose our temper sometimes. You're not showing up as the person that you want to show up while you're not getting the sleep, not getting all of the things. So the guilt is real. I want to make a distinction between caregiver burnout and compassion fatigue. So this was something I didn't really know early on is, you know, we don't learn this stuff in school, right? We learn it on the job, and the goal is to care without breaking, because a break too is better than a breakdown. I love all these little catchy phrases. You're gonna learn that about me, but that hopefully will stick with you. So compassion fatigue though, and I put the storm graphic on here because it kind of comes up on you fast, like a storm rolling in. Emotional numbness or detachment, you're feeling hopeless, helpless, or overly sensitive to suffering. Your reduced ability to empathize or care for others is a little bit different than caregiver burnout, where I put the pot of water because of like, have you ever heard of the boiling frog analogy, where the frog jumped in boiling water, they jump out right away, but if they're doing a slow boil, they don't even know that they're burning out. And that's how caregiver burnout felt for me. I was like, one day I just kind of looked in the mirror and I was like, who are you? Like, you used to be, sunny and optimistic and positive, and now you're, can barely cry, or I can cry at a drop of a pen when people talk to me. I'm exhausted, I'm sleepy, I have no energy, I bite at people. So I withdraw from my friends, had panic attacks, had a face full of acne, had gained a lot of weight, didn't like to do the things that I enjoyed doing. Those are signs of burnout.
Yeah, both at the same time.
Yeah, sure, why not? We can still like it, have both at the same time, why not? I know. So, but it's good to kind of recognize, I think one has a little bit more to do with empathy, but the difference between the burnout is it's a prolonged period. It's almost like you're going to battle, you're going into war over and over and over again, and that catches up with you. I got good news for you tonight. We're gonna talk about, okay, we've got all the problems, we know there's guilt, we know there's compassion fatigue, burnout, everybody's on the same page there. We want to either know how to prevent it or how we can recover from it. And you can recover from it. So I was thinking about, what are the 3 key things, Elizabeth, that really felt like you clawed your way back from caregiver burnout? What did that look like? And these were the 3 things that I felt like really made an impactful, empowering change of mindset for me. One of them is that I can't be a solo caregiver. This is a care partnership. So even though I'm the primary caregiver for my brother right now, my sister pays all the bills. It's a little bit annoying at the doctor's office because I'm like, this is the billing address, this is his physical address, this is for this person, but they need to get with the program. We need a care partnership for a lot of other people. And then your person that you're caring for is also part of your care team, your care partnership. And I used to say a phrase with my mom when I would get frustrated with her. I say, you're gonna have to meet me halfway. Like, I'm doing the best that I can here, but you're gonna have to meet me halfway on this, because it's a lot. When guilt is steering the ship, we overcompensate, right? Like, if you're gonna keep turning this way, we overcompensate, which can lead to you disappearing and ultimately lead to resentment for your older adult and your parents. We look at it like a shared journey. That's why, we can't change the word family caregiver because it's already hard enough that people don't even know that they're a family caregiver. But if it was up to me, I would say we are care partners, because I feel like that really shows that it's a partnership. And if we look at it like a shared journey, and that we've got to involve as many people with the expertise in it, it gets a lot easier. And what I found is that when I was trying to do everything myself, I was breaking. So sometimes you have to let the cracks show of what's going on in your life. I was kind of had this protective layer on when I was around my mom. I was like, oh, she's grieving my dad. She can't handle anymore. I'm not going to complain to her. I'm just going to suck it up and keep doing it. And then I'd have a meltdown in the car for 15 minutes, over something. And so what I noticed is that when I started to let the cracks show a little bit and explain to my mom what was going on when I left and the other things that I was doing, the light started coming in, and she started kind of owning more responsibility for her health and happiness. And the same is true when you start to share that with the people around you. So the second sustainable strategy is to expand your care team. Now, we think of family as our care team, but not all families helpful. I'm lucky. I got 5 siblings to pick from, right? One of them needs care. So I got 4 others. 2 of the sisters are great, but one of them has her own company. She has limited capacity. My other sister is a partner with me, but she lives in Michigan for my brother. The other brother that I have, or 2 brothers, sorry, one he lives with, and that's basically what he's comfortable doing. He lives with me. So they don't eat together, they're like roommates. And then I have another brother who's absolutely no help, makes everything harder, makes everything miserable. We don't even include him. So we all have one of those. So, but family's not your only people that you can look up. There's a lot, we have great leaders in this room of different companies, different people who can point you either to their resources, to other resources. There are volunteers that can help you with your condition that your loved one has. Maybe it's your faith community or their faith community, their neighbors, your neighbors, their friends, some distant third cousin, whatever. Like anybody who's willing can be a part of your care team. You've got hospice. You got to just keep asking the people, who can help me? I'm overwhelmed. Who's, this is too much for me. Who can help me? I'm overwhelmed. But it takes courage to admit when we can't do it. It's not a one-person job. I've never seen, in 10 years of doing what I've been doing and helping other caregivers, I've never seen a solo caregiving situation work. It doesn't work. So the goal is for sustainability, and how we do that too is by setting boundaries. So boundaries are essential because otherwise it kind of goes back to that insanity thing, right? A lot of us could be people pleasers. We want to avoid having those difficult conversations, want to avoid conflict. We want to overcompensate. We don't want to feel the feels. We want to mask our feelings and help other people. So sometimes we avoid that. But some of the boundaries that I've been able to set that really were effective for me is one of them was when my dad first died and we moved my mom to assisted living, I was over there all the time. We lived there. I lived with her. I slept with her for the first week. And the assistant went to the meals. I was like introducing her to people. That was not sustainable. I could not move in with her. I had a job, I had kids, I had a home of my own, pets and husband. So then I started kind of going all the time, and that also wasn't sustainable to keep kind of going, or going when she called and everything was an emergency. She's out of diet ginger ale. She's that her Wi-Fi is not working. I was her person, right? Call for everything. I see some nodding happening there. You're the person. I get it. So I had to kind of come up with a system that works. And so sat with my husband, look at our calendars. I'm like, I want to just have like a mom day or mom night, like what works with our family. So Wednesday was my night. Wednesday night I would go over and I manage that expectation with my mom, say, Mom, good news, Wednesday night is our night. I'm all yours. I'm gonna come right from work. We can eat in the dining hall. I can bring a picnic. We can play a game. I can do some of the things off of your to-do list. And we'll have this time together. Well, it wasn't perfect. She still was like, you gotta go home already. Can't watch a movie with me. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, Mom, I got 5 a.m. I gotta get up and rinse and repeat. So sorry, but it's been fun. We'll do this again next week. But I also was her person for a while that was doing the grocery shopping. And I learned that on Wednesday night, I could send the list to my brother, who was a great help, but you have to tell him exactly what you need. He's not gonna think of it on his own. And so I would just text my brother Tim. I'd say, she's out of diet ginger ale. She wants more clementines, blah, 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 blah. Can you bring it when you come visit her on the weekend? And we would talk about spreading out our visits so we weren't all kind of going at the same time. So these are types of boundaries that you can set up to manage expectations. I have a boundary with my brother. He calls repeatedly. That's part of his disability. It could be in the middle of a work day, be on a virtual speaking event. And he's calling me back to back to back to back. And so I over and over again just reiterating, Tom, I'm not gonna pick it up. I'll pick it up the first time if I can. I'll see that you're called. I will call you back. And I had to do that many times, and sometimes he slips back. And I remember we talked about this, and the boy who cried wolf, and telling him those stories again. So setting boundaries. Anybody have a boundary that they've set recently that they would like to share? That's helped given you a little more breathing room? Go ahead.
It's very similar to what you said. It's like a mom day. So I have office hours with my mom.
Office hours.
The weekend, yeah, I probably come up with a different name. But she comes there in my home office to her.
So she lives with you, and she knows from this time to this time, my door is open. Yeah.
She loves it. She gets her calendar. She wants to like hold things for Saturday morning at whatever time she decides.
Yeah.
That's very helpful for my time and the stuff she's.
Yeah, a notion that you need a boundary is when something's really irritating you and irking you, And to just kind of step away for a minute, a second, and say, why is that irking me so bad? What is going on there? And then what can I put in place that's gonna help me not feel this way the next time this happens? And that could be, a clue that you need some kind of a boundary to set there. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else have a boundary? Sometimes we have boundaries with our kids, right? Like, we're good at this with parenting. We're better at this with parenting. I used to have a 9 p.m. rule. I said, Mom is off duty at 9 o'clock. If you need papers signed from me, they better be in my hands by 9 o'clock because I'm in my bed with my book. I don't want your crumpled papers and your pen coming at me at 9 o'clock, after 9 o'clock at night. And you kind of have to train them, right? That they can do these things. They have the capacity to do that. So a couple other practical tips, because those are the 3 big strategies, but then there was like these other little things. I was like, okay, I gotta share these other little things. Feel the feels. My friend Mary, she could see that I was kind of bottling it all up. So feel the feels, and fine is not a feeling. If you ask somebody how they are and they say fine, you're like, fine is not a feeling. Come up with something else. You're hungry, you're tired, you're bored, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're overwhelmed. What are you really feeling? And so sometimes checking that in with yourself. You know how you go to the doctor's office and they have all those little faces of like the pain, that sometimes it's the pain, or maybe you've seen the other faces. It's like, pick one of those feelings. My other tip for you is accept the role, and then I put it in parentheses, maybe you're not cut out for this, and that's okay too, to kind of say, look, I'm in way over my head. I'm not cut out for this anymore. I need to pull the group together. If there is a group that you can pull together, and we need to figure out a new plan. Maybe assisted living is the right option. Maybe you need professional home care to come in. All of those things can be our options. This, whether we want to admit it or not, it's a choice. You either choose to do it or you choose not. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you have a choice, but we do have a choice. It's a really hard choice though. Getting organized is so key, because you can't really have other people coming into your care team and helping you if they don't know how to get to the stuff. So you gotta have a place for this stuff. It's either, physical binders, online binders. There's apps now where you can put information in securely, sharing passwords, all of that. A key that you might need to get more organized in a certain area is if somebody's asking you the same question more than a couple of times, probably need to write that down and share that. Put it in a Google Doc, write out the Wi-Fi instructions. How do they feed the pet? How do they get into the house? Where's XYZ? How do they, what is those meals that they like again? All of that, write it down. Write it down. Getting everything organized is gonna help you streamline so that it makes it one step closer to getting more people to grow your care team together. And in kind of the same vein, when you're doing that, simplifying everything. So I don't know if you all feel like this, and I still feel like this, is I want one less thing to take care of. You're taking care of so much. So what else can you get off of your plate? Maybe you're not in the season of your life where you're gonna volunteer at your kid's school. Maybe you've got to say no to being the usher at your faith community right now. It's so flattered that people are asking you. And it doesn't mean you're not good at it, and it doesn't mean you don't want to do it. It's just that you're in a difficult season of your life and something has to give. It can't be your health and your happiness. So something else. Simplifying everything. If it's complicated, get rid of it. I mean, even to the point where my wardrobe, I did this crazy thing, I remember, where I did something called a Project 333. I was like, I don't even want to think about what I gotta wear. I just wanted 33 things in my closet that kind of all mixed and matched. They all went together. And you have to think about it. I know why Steve Jobs wore that black t-shirt. You have to think about it. It was one less thing you had to make a decision on. So it feels so stupid, but those are the kinds of things that just are build up to decision fatigue for us. And so making less decisions and simplifying things. One way you can simplify stuff is by embracing technology. So I think it's not next month, the month after that, we've got a great person coming in to talk about Age Tech. He works for Age Tech Atlanta. We're talking about all the different gadgets and things that you might not even know existed that can make your life easier. And he's the person to do it. So we got a great speaker, and we come back for that one. But embracing technology, there's really cool stuff out there that can help you all. There are little sensors you can plug into the wall that are heat sensors. to let you know that if your parent doesn't live with you, whether they went to the bathroom or whether they went into the kitchen that day. There's medication prompts to see if they open their pill box. There's a memory board that can send them the instructions and reminders. Great if there's someone living with dementia. There's pendants that look like real jewelry. There's watches that tell you if you're gonna fall. There's so many different things that if you're having an issue with something, there's probably technology that already exists to help you with it, or someone's working on it. So a lot of cool stuff there. And so even little things that are in our lives like Amazon, subscribe and save, take advantage of that, your smartphone speakers, they can do a lot. There's so much there. Your phone giving you, adding people to your favorites, so that will override your do not disturb settings and stuff. So little things like that, that'll give you peace of mind. Just-in-time training was also critical. There's so much, too much, way too much to learn about caregiving. And so we just need it when we need it. And one of the great ways that I found that I was able to get that information is like somebody has this same exact problem. I know they do. Podcasts. Podcasts are amazing. Podcasts have their own search engine. Who's podcast listeners in here? Anybody? Yeah. Okay, good. Lots of y'all. You can search for something, anything, refusal to take medication, how do I bathe easier, taking the car keys away, moving them into an assisted living community, having those difficult conversations. There's great podcasts about all of those topics. And they were a great just-in-time trainer for me. And then preparing for the what if. So we heard from, Adam, Janet earlier, some of that stuff with the financial and legal is thing, but thinking through the things like my mom was on oxygen. She lived in Michigan. She needed oxygen and the power went out all the time. So thinking about what she would need in the case of emergency. What's going to happen if my sister got sick? What happens if something happens to any of us and we have to fill in? So thinking through those what if scenarios will really help you with the practical tips. Any other suggestions that you all have on how you've made caregiving more sustainable in your life, or the little tips that were real game changers for you? Anybody? I find the best advice comes from other caregivers. Sorry? Support groups. Yes, the best day to get support is on your best day. Do not wait until you are drowning in the deep end to get the support. Where do you find some support groups? Yes, this is one. A little bit different, more like we're educational. And then there's the traditional circle up kind of groups. I'm a part of one that's online called daughterhood.org. It's another nonprofit that I work with. We do virtual support groups on topics and connection circles. I think I have a connection circle virtually next week. Feel free to join us. And there's a lot of other great leaders on there too that have different expertise and facilitation skills. So switching gears about self-care. So, okay, coming through now, we know where you felt guilty. Maybe we had some compassion fatigue. Maybe we're burned out or slightly charred, whatever. And we've got some sustainable strategies. We're thinking about these practical tips. We're ready to kind of feel empowered in our role. And now we've got some white space. But we don't want to fill the white space with caring for other things. We want to fill the white space with caring for ourselves. Does anyone hate the word self-care as a caregiver? Yeah, so nod. You should take care of yourself. And you just want to punch in the face. I know. You should take care of yourself. I have felt like you all. And now this is what I do. I help people infuse self-care into their lives. But what I realized is that you're already doing some of it. So you can pat yourself on the back for what you came tonight. That is self-care. That hit 2 things. So there's 8 categories of self-care. Physical, emotional, the yellow ones are hard to read. Spiritual, financial, professional, intellectual, social, and practical. So you tick 2 boxes by coming tonight. You got intellectual, social, and maybe even some practical in there. So, but you get if you brush your teeth, I hope you brush your teeth. There's physical self-care. Some of you took showers today, you got clean clothes on, you did your laundry, like all of that stuff is self-care. So give yourself some credit for what you're already doing. Sometimes I think too, we gotta reframe some of what we're doing. Like, I get really annoyed sometimes when I'm making calls to get my own doctor's appointment scheduled. That's self-care. Maybe I'm doing some research for my brother on communities that he can live in. That's gonna give me peace of mind, which is self-care, because now I'm creating more of a team of people that are gonna take care of him, where he can age in place for the rest of his life, hopefully. So reframing that like, oh, this is some task that I don't wanna do, is like, no, I wanna do this because this is gonna make my life easier. And that's gonna give me peace of mind. And so thinking through kind of that way. When I was first clawing my way from burnout, I was really hyper-focused on physical self-care, and it made sense. My parents were morbidly obese. They were a cocktail of different things. I haven't seen it, lived it. Don't want that. My husband and I, my kids, don't do that to us. So it's really, honed in on the eating and the exercising. And that's what I thought self-care was. And I think a lot of times when people say they don't have time for it, that's kind of what they're talking about. But there's a lot of other things. So your emotional self-care could look like journaling, could look like meditation or yoga or breathing or talk therapy, a lot of things there. Spiritual could be religious, maybe it's getting out in nature. Financial self-care is your future self is going to thank you for all of the things you're setting up. Your professional career, getting the skills you need, getting yourself positioned for that promotion or that raise, and putting yourself in a place. Those are the things that you're taking care of for yourself. Intellectual is learning. We all need to keep learning. I'm addicted to Duolingo right now. If you're on Duolingo learning any language or anything, could be my friend on Duolingo. 10 minutes a day, I'm learning Italian and I'm getting pretty good at it. Social self-care. Social self-care is getting together with your friends. Maybe it's a book club. Maybe it's something you wanted to do like that. And then practical. Practical self-care sometimes is just cleaning off your desk. It's like, this is making me crazy. I'm gonna handle this right now. So practical self-care. So knowing what you know about the different types of self-care, I'm hoping that all of you now think that you have time for self-care. Because if nobody thinks, if someone's out here that says they don't have time for self-care, you must stay after and we must talk one-on-one. So real self-care looks different than for caregivers though. I do think that. So we talked about reframing what you're doing. I like this image of a closet because just like you have different clothes for different seasons, just like sometimes you have, these things for work and these things for play and these things for working out, those things for your holiday clothes. Oh, it's cold, oh, it's hot, it's rainy, whatever. The same thing is true with your self-care tools. You need different things at different times. And so you can kind of go to your closet. You're just going to build your closet of what you think works for you. Maybe it's boxing. Maybe you love to punch stuff. Maybe it's needlepoint. Maybe it's walking and hiking with a girlfriend, or reading, or doing different things. But you figure out what works for you, because what works for you is different than what works for me. And so I got really curious about self-care, and I started trying it on, just like we try on clothes and seeing how these things look on us. How does this feel? How does this work for me? Do I want to keep this in my closet or not? So during that time, before there was a happyhealthycaregiver.com, there was Instagram. And so for 100 days, I did 100 days of healthy, and I took a picture of one thing that I was doing for myself that unknowingly hit one of those 8 categories. I just didn't know it really then. And it made me feel accountable. So maybe you need a self-care partner, someone to feel accountable for. But it could be making a different food choice at a restaurant. Maybe it was dropping my kids off at a practice, and instead of sitting in my car scrolling, I got out and I started walking around. Or maybe that night I felt like I wanted to go talk and engage with other moms, or do those types of things. So building up your closet so you can have lots of different tools. And then we broadened our definition. Now you know the 8 things. We also found that I was guilty of having the all or nothing mindset, that I felt like if I couldn't work out for an hour, there was really no point in working out. Well, that's just stupid. So 10 minutes counts, maybe 10 minutes 3 times a day gets you to 30 minutes. And so I started getting really creative, and I was like, okay, where can I find some minutes in my day? And I worked, at the time I was working in an office, I worked in IT, and I would take breaks, 3 o'clock. I worked on kind of the bottom floor, there were 23 flights of stairs, 15 minutes up and down the steps. Maybe at my lunchtime, getting outside was a big thing in my closet of things, I need nature. And I learned that about me, so I went outside and I just kind of strolled the little gardens that we had, or maybe I ate my lunch outside, or maybe I had a walk and talk meeting with somebody, or I listened to a podcast while I was walking. So getting really creative about how you can combine some of these things into two first, and buy one, get one free, what is also helpful. When people ask me what my biggest tip for self-care is, it's so boring. It's like, just schedule your time. Schedule your time. Put the time on your calendar just like you would any other wellness visit. It doesn't have to be long. Maybe it is just that 10-minute here and there. Maybe it is a bigger refill break. Maybe it's a Saturday morning or an evening once a week or once a month. And then I also find with us as caregivers, we're really bad about not putting a lot of playtime in our schedule. We need to have more fun. We can even have fun with our care recipients. It doesn't have to be all work. We can have fun. So that was something I got advice from at one of the support groups that I went to early on. In fact, Dawn Reed was my caregiver support group that I went to. She now leads a lot of aging in these rooms. Boo-hoo to use a box of Kleenex with Dawn Reed. And she said a couple of things. She said, remember that your mom has already lived this time in her life. And I was like, that was brilliant. So she's already done all these things that I'm feeling guilty for not being able to do. And then she said, and don't feel like you gotta do all the things. Like when you go visit your mom, ask for 1 or 2 things off of her list. Say, Mom, we're gonna hit 1 or 2 things, and then we're gonna do some fun together. What would you like to do? Would you like to play cards? You wanna watch Frankie and Grace? Adult color? Tell me what you wanna do. So infusing some more fun. So after all of this, trying on, getting creative, building my closet, I felt like my definition of self-care changed. And it's not as annoying to hear it anymore. So my definition of self-care is like anything that's gonna energize me physically, energize me emotionally. Anything that's gonna give me peace of mind so I sleep better at night, or I don't wake up at 4 in the morning and stay awake. I hate that. And anything that's just pure joy. So we need all of those things in our life to infuse. What are some of the ways that you all are infusing self-care in your days? Maybe in those little micro minutes, or what's a tool in your closet that you know works for you?
I started doing strength training.
Strength training?
Yes, and I set a boundary, because my dad said, oh, maybe I should come with you and do some of this. And I was like, oh, it's my time.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. I love that. Anyone else, some things that they're doing? Okay, we're gonna work on that.
Just cleaning up my own space.
Keeping your space clean. I mean, because that gives you peace of mind, doesn't it? Like when my house is cluttered, does it say outer order, inner calm? Like that, not everybody's like that. They can be messy and they don't care, but for me, I'm with you. I gotta have some outer order, inner calm. So you know that about yourself. Anybody else? All right. Well, I have a resource for you all that I'm gonna share. The link is up here. And if it's hard to see, I can keep this up afterwards and you can come up and look at it, but it's a bit.ly link, so short link, it's bit.ly/HHC shared the care. And I created these worksheets because it's really hard for us to build our care team and to divide and conquer on different responsibilities. So there's actually a caregiving responsibilities, family responsibilities, and even holiday responsibilies. I found that there's like a whole other list of stuff. And those aren't that far away when we think about that stuff. But this is gonna allow you to have conversations, to think about maybe where you have to hire in some expertise of different people, because if your name is the one name in all of the columns, that's not sustainable. That's not gonna work. So we gotta figure out something else. I don't like the oxygen mask analogy. Are you guys sick of hearing that one too? You'll put your mask on yourself before you care for other people, like they say on the airlines. Well, the reason why I don't like that analogy is because that is not what life as a caregiver is like. We are not just all of a sudden in turbulence, flight lights are gonna flash, the masks are gonna fall from the ceiling, and we're gonna be, awake and be like, oh, now's the time. I put my mask on myself before I put my mask on other people. Doesn't work that way when you're on a caregiving treadmill, hamster wheel, whatever you wanna call it. So I like this analogy better. This worked for me to kind of help me turn the corner, of giving me permission to start to take care of myself and claw my way back from burnout. Is that I call it feeding a nest of hungry birds. You ever seen a nest of hungry birds? First of all, they're always hungry. They're always hungry. Their mouths are crying, like, dang, those birds. And the mom or the dad bird is going back and forth in the nest. They gotta figure out who needs the one little bit of worm that they want to get. And they've got to discern who's worthy of that. Your birds represent your job, your relationships, your kids, your pets, your house, your care recipient. All of the things that are screaming at you for little bits and pieces of you. So I feel like the nest of hungry birds is a better representation of what it's like. And so that really hit me up outside the head, and I thought, that mom bird or that dad bird's gonna have to feed themselves if they want to keep showing up for the other birds in their nest. And that was kind of what it took for me to click, because I think for a lot of us as caregivers, it's not like, we deserve care because we're human beings put on this earth, like, yes. But sometimes it's hard to get there. But if you think about the fact that your whole system breaks down, that all the birds are gonna die or not be well, if you don't take care of yourself first. Or at least somewhere in the mix, right? Thinking about that. So guilt is normal. It's an expected feeling when in caregiving. It usually means you want something to be true that isn't. It's always gonna come up. But when the guilt starts to creep up on you, I want to hope that you replace it with another G word, which is grace. And give yourself lots of grace, because you are doing the best that you have. You're making the best decisions with the information that you have at the time. You are a smart and savvy caregiver, and you are an empowered caregiver who is, figuring out how to take care of themselves while also taking care of other people in a society where healthcare and a lot of stuff is really broken right now. So more grace, less guilt. And with that, I want to leave you with some other complimentary resources that I offer. So the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast is available wherever you find your podcasts. Has over 200 episodes. What makes my podcast that I host different than other podcasts is that I only interview real family caregivers, people who are living in the trenches like you all, or have lived in the trenches. And they might do written books and done spectacular things, but they are caregivers first and foremost. And extracting their sustainable strategies and figuring out how self-care is infused in their life, or how they clawed their way back from burnout, is what I want to get out of them. And so every episode's a little bit different. And when you go on the website too, under the resources page that I have, because there's 200 episodes, so the new one comes out every other Wednesday, but there might be some that are a particular fit for you more than others. And so if you go on the resources page on my site, you'll be able to see what type of caregiver you are. Maybe you're a dementia caregiver, maybe you're a male caregiver, maybe you're a working caregiver, sandwich generation. And so that'll kind of give you some of those episodes that might be a better fit for you. I also do a weekly newsletter. So every week I share something happy, something healthy, something care related, maybe sharing different resources, different things that I'm trying on to see if they work for me, or they have worked for me, or I heard so-and-so tried this. So that's something that you all can subscribe to that's free and gets pushed out every Tuesday. I also have a self-care support for caregiver Facebook group. So we have different themes for the days of the week. And so there's offering you some encouragement there, giving you some online support, try to keep it, what is the word I want to use? I found that a lot of the Facebook groups were really negative, and I didn't want that. That's not what I wanted. There are those groups out there. If you want to vent and do that, there's those. Mine is very actionable. Let's take action. Let's figure out how we're going to get out of this practical all of that. So self-care support for caregiver Facebook group is monitored by myself and 2 other certified caregiving consultants. And then I also do offer a complimentary virtual coaching session if that's something that you're interested in doing one-on-one. And there's cards out on the one table on the right-hand side. And with that, I just have any questions, any comments, questions, things that you were like, oh, I do have a strategy or a practical tip that I didn't know and I want to share. Because you all the experts in caregiving. So give yourself some credit for that. Any questions, first of all? It's hot in here. Thank you all. It's a little hot in here. I'm like, whoop, it's hot and it's late. And they're overwhelmed. All right, thank you all so much. I hope, well, there's a couple slides left, I think, that talk about. Oh, you want to take it from here?
I got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. If any of you would like for us to share the slides with you or the information that Elizabeth shared, just stop and see someone at the front desk. We can, if you've signed in, you've shared your email address, we can click that to where we can get that information to you. So please do so. We're happy to share that. So next month, we're talking about Medicare, a very interesting topic that really, is foreign to a lot of people. So please join us on September 13th, right here. And we'll talk a little bit about Medicare and the ins and outs and kind of what you need to know as we go into the open enrollment season. So looking forward to seeing you for that. And without that, I'm going to say thank you. And please feel free to stop and chat with any of the leadership team or Elizabeth and mark that if you'd like to get a copy of the deck, we're happy to share that too. And please feel free to share and tell your friends that we're here every month and we've got a good crowd tonight and room to grow. So thank you very much for joining us.